Well, it is the second day of the trial of a Catholic pro-democracy advocate in Hong Kong. Jimmy Lai faces a possible life sentence if convicted under a China-backed national security law. Lawyers for the former newspaper and magazine tycoon are attempting to have the charges thrown out. A judge is expected to rule by the end of the week. Otherwise, the trial is expected to run around 3 months. Lai was arrested in August of 2020 and faces 3 charges. Today, he arrived in court with a large police presence, even though he has never been convicted of a violent offense. We turn now to Jonathan Price, who is on the legal team representing Jimmy Lai. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time today. First off, can you tell us how Jimmy is doing health-wise, mentally?
We don't have much information, Tracy. Very few people have been able to see him. We are his international legal team and not able to travel to Hong Kong. So we know about as much as his son, Sebastian, with whom we work very closely, who is also not able to travel to Hong Kong for fear of arrest himself. But it appears that he's doing fine. As you probably know, he's a man of considerable faith and conviction, which he's found of great solace whilst he's been in prison for the last 1,000 plus days. And in those circumstances, we think he's doing remarkably well. He's lost a little bit of weight, as you might imagine, but he looks, from the pictures that we've seen, relaxed.
And Jonathan, do you think it's possible for Jimmy to get a fair trial, given the fact that Hong Kong is backed by China?
Hong Kong is now more or less indistinguishable from China, and its legal system has been subverted by the introduction in 2020 of something called the National Security Law, which is a piece of legislation which will be familiar to people from mainland China, because it is controlled not by an independent judiciary, but ultimately by a politically appointed committee. The judges in Jimmy Lai's national security law trial, this is what he's facing at the moment, are handpicked judges licensed, in effect, to try national security law cases because of their political fealty to Beijing. So in those circumstances, it is not how you or I would recognize fair judicial proceedings. And you've got to remember as well that recently the Hong Kong Director of National Security boasted that the national security law has a 100% conviction rate. And again, in any rule of law compliant jurisdiction, that would be a red flag. It would instantly alarm authorities if they were convicting everybody they prosecuted that there was something wrong with the judicial system. It cannot be right that literally everybody accused of a crime is guilty, but that's how they've been operating the national security law. So I'm afraid we don't think that he's likely to receive a fair trial.
Jonathan, as we well know, Jimmy converted to Catholicism and he was baptized under Cardinal Joseph Zen. Do you think his religion, his converting to Catholicism, do you think this played into this as well? Was it a factor at all?
It's not been made a factor explicitly. I think it's recognised that to do so would be even more outrageous, if that's possible. But no doubt his faith played a part in the conviction with which he pursued his activities. Now, they want to paint him as a radical firebrand. He was not. He was a conservative man of deep conviction and faith who was seeking to maintain the status quo in the city which he loved, which he made home, in which he did very well over many years as an industrialist and then as a newspaperman. And he saw that the Chinese authoritarianism would ruin Hong Kong. And he made it his life's work to try to hold on to the Hong Kong and the freedoms in Hong Kong that he loved. And those included the freedom for him to practice his religion. So in many ways, his conviction, which meant that he stayed in Hong Kong when he could have left. I mean, he was a man of enormous means and huge international connections. And when it became apparent to him that he was likely to be arrested, he could have made tracks and set up home in Hong Kong, in New York, let's say, or London or Paris, any number of places in which he had connections and money. But he chose to stay. And that is a mark of his conviction, a mark of his faith. He knew he was doing the right thing, sticking up for these values. And he knew that there were more important things to him than sitting back and enjoying the fruits of his incredible life. And it is those values that he stayed and fought for.
Jonathan Pryce, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We really appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you very much, Tracy.